Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
And welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw. I'm joined today, as always, by my cohort and co-host, Mr. Eric Kniss.
Good morning, everyone.
And we are joined today by the host of the Projection Booth podcast, Mr. Warmth himself, Mr. Mike White.
Mr. Warmth. Nice.
Mr. Warmth.
Me and Don Rickles. We share a lot of qualities.
Kindred spirits. And we are joined by Harrison Gray, one of the staff writers for Culture Shock. This is his debut podcast. This is first go around the bend.
Popping that cherry.
Hey, guys.
Hello there.
I've never done this before, so be kind.
Go easy on me. We're gentle lovers. It's okay. And today we're here to talk about Skull Island. Oh, no. Kong Skull Island. From 20...
Jeez.
I fucked this up already. Fuck. It is the second film in the now named MonsterVerse that started with 2014?
14.
Okay. It started with Godzilla from 2014, the Gareth Edwards film. We are going to be talking spoilers later in this podcast, but we will let you know when to turn it off if you don't want to hear us talking about spoilers. The IMDb synopsis for the film is: a team of scientists explore an uncharted island in the Pacific, venturing into the domain of the mighty Kong, and must fight to escape a primal Eden.
An uncharted island.
Let me list all the ways you're gonna die. Rain, heat, disease-carrying flies, and we haven't started on the things that want to eat you alive.
We'll double that.
Plus a bonus if we make it back. If?
In this dirty old part of the city, where the sun refused to shine.
Is that a monkey?
He's God on the island.
We don't belong here.
But the devils live below us. I call them skull crawlers. Monsters. Why? Because it sounds neat.
Okay.
Look, I just made that name up. I'm trying to scare you.
I'm fine calling them that. Are you cool with it?
Yeah, that seems like
I
that
like
seems
the
like
name.
Well, none of us had seen this movie before, obviously, since it just came out. Starting with you, Harrison, since this is your first go around the bend, what did you think of Kong Skull Island?
It was very intense, I would say. Intensity is probably the first thing that came to mind over the course of watching the movie. It took a very dramatic, war-oriented direction of the story, which I think you could probably tell from some of the trailers and definitely one of the most recent posters that focused on a comparison between it and Apocalypse Now. So there's definitely some very interesting metaphors that they were using the giant monsters for, and the location itself, Skull Island, for.
Did you like it compared to 2014's Godzilla?
2014's Godzilla I liked about 11 minutes of it. There wasn't anywhere near enough of the monsters, which was what I was really there for. This movie definitely understood if the monsters are the focus, this is what people are here for. Let's deliver on that front. So you could definitely see a lot of that, and it almost, in parts, almost felt like a response to that. But yeah, I definitely liked the movie. I liked how much of the monsters were in it, how much design went into the monsters. They were really interesting creatures and interesting designs.
So what you're saying is a movie called Kong Skull Island shouldn't wait 45 minutes to show the eponymous creature that's in the title of the film?
It should. If it does, I'm not going to say it can't do that, but if it does, it really has to deliver. And I feel like it might have been just a pretty decent amount of time before we actually get to Skull Island, but once we do, it is pretty much nonstop monsters when you're there.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
I completely agree. What about you, Mr. Mike White?
Well, as a fan of Peter Jackson, I really think it should have taken about an hour and 45 minutes before we got to the island. I really missed the whole backstory of all the characters. I wanted to know what they were like more in the world. Get me at least an hour of that, and then like a half an hour on the ship, maybe 45 minutes. That would have been fantastic, but... No, in all seriousness, I'm glad that they at least did like the teaser of Kong at the beginning. It seemed to almost follow some of the beats of the Godzilla film. It feels like it was more a response to it. Like, hey, let's do this right. And it seemed to kind of take on the Godzilla film of a few years ago, as well as Peter Jackson's Kong, and just really just kicked it into gear. I mean, from that opening shot of John C. Reilly, the younger John C. Reilly, falling out of the sky against the sun, I mean, it immediately grabs you and takes you on this, and I hate to use this terminology, but takes you on this thrill ride, because it really just makes sure that you know that there is stuff happening in this movie. You are not bored in this film.
What about you, Eric?
Just a badass monster movie. It was a lot of fun, actually.
Compared to last week's Logan, this movie is like,
which was
this is
just not fun.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be fun, but man, this movie is just like, this is, again, to use a phrase that gets, like Mike said, to use a phrase that gets used a lot, this is a roller coaster ride. I mean, this movie was all over the place in the best way.
Yeah, it was just a good time from start to finish. This movie is like the Spider-Man 2 of monster movies. It's just badass.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited for this movie primarily because I love anything that has to do with monkeys, especially big monkeys.
Pardon me, it's an ape.
Oh, sorry.
I was waiting for that correction to happen in the movie.
You're welcome. I don't know if you know this, Mike, but I hate every ape I see from
chimpanzee to chimpanzee. Yes.
Oh, God. I can never watch anything without that Simpsons callback of the Planet of the Apes musical. Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
I really enjoyed this movie a lot more than I probably was expecting I was going to, because I really expected, kind of like Harrison said, I kind of expected it to fall into some of the pitfalls of Godzilla 2014. Like he mentioned, there was, what you said, 11 good minutes of Godzilla 2014 for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
the minutes with Godzilla. I think they've counted it up, how much screen time Godzilla actually has in that film.
Well, that's kind of like, what, The Dark Knight Rises, where there's like 12 minutes of Batman in the entire movie. But, but it's not a Batman movie or anything. It's not in the title. But Kong Skull Island, I don't know, like, I don't think I have a whole lot of gripes with it, because for the most part it delivers on what I was hoping for. It has a setting that is like distinct. This is a very uniquely set piece. It's a period piece. On top of everything else, not only is it a monster movie, it's a period piece set in like barely post-Vietnam. Like we're talking like maybe a couple days after the Vietnam War ends. It has characters that shockingly you give a shit about, unlike the 2014 Godzilla movie, which gives you no reason to care about any of the characters, to the point where, spoilers, even though the movie's been out for 3 years, Bryan Cranston dies in the first 30 minutes. The top-billed actor in the film gets killed in the first 30 minutes. So, I mean, there were characters that I was legitimately invested in this film, that I cared if they lived or died, and we'll talk about the characters here in a little bit, but the design for Kong was awesome. The idea that Kong is this like gigantic-ass monkey, it's pretty great. And they also, let's not forget that they also note that Kong isn't fully grown yet, which is amazing. Like, I want to see a Kong that's even bigger. Like, let's be honest here. Who doesn't want to see gigantic Kong? Because this is like big-ass King Kong. This is the biggest King Kong we've ever seen. But like...
Yeah, well, he's gotta grow a little bit more if he's gonna freaking own Godzilla in that cross-monster movie action, because Godzilla is fucking gigantic.
I was looking it up after this movie. They said the current Godzilla is about 350 feet tall. This King Kong is about 100 feet tall. So he's still only at almost a quarter the size of Godzilla.
Jesus.
He has some growing to do.
But, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me, like, this is the best American-made kaiju film that I've seen. Not that there's a whole lot of competition, but if we're talking in respect to not just King Kong movies, because obviously this is, and I know Mike's going to say, well, King Kong lives with, we can go there if we want, but this is way better than the Peter Jackson Kong.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
From 2005, obviously. And that goes without saying.
Well, I mean, it's definitely like the best gigantic monster movie that has come out in a really long time. I really like that this movie doesn't try to take itself super seriously like the last Godzilla did. And it's just like this fun, just like, look, dude, it's giant monsters and people trying to fight giant monsters and then giant monsters fighting other giant monsters. And that's it. Like, there doesn't need to be like a ton of like substance thrown in to make it okay to watch this movie. Like, you could just watch it and just like it. And I loved it. It was great.
I mean, I grew up on the 76 King Kong, so I have a soft spot for that. Though rewatching it again recently, I was like, yeah, this really isn't very good at all, especially the special effects just look terrible. But, I mean, this is up there for me with Cloverfield and Pacific Rim. I mean, I like those movies a lot, but I think that this one was even more just kind of fun for fun's sake.
I will say I actually really liked the Peter Jackson King Kong, but it was a very different movie. It was borderline trying to be the opposite of what this movie was trying to be. Jackson was just trying to make a remake of King Kong, and then he took 3 hours to do it and flesh out everything that you possibly could. And I really liked it for what it was. For a while, I think it was my favorite movie. But this one was trying to be, like you guys are saying, fun, monster, action, and it was a very different plot from any version of King Kong that there's ever been before. It was not King Kong goes to New York. It was not King Kong goes to society. It was just King Kong in his own element. It was just the part where it's King Kong fighting other monsters on an island, and it was boiled down to that. They did a really good job with that.
Let's be honest here. How interesting really would King Kong in New York be right now? Like that was kind of always my issue with the 2014 Godzilla, is that like there wasn't a whole lot of believability with that film, because I mean, like, they can't do anything to that Godzilla. And you know, and in this film, if Kong had gone to the mainland, it would have just been that retreaded, I guess. But
yeah. I'm really glad that they just kept it away from New York or away from Kong leaving the island. I mean, I'm sure eventually it's going to be Kong leaves island, Kong fucks, shit up. But I'm really glad for this movie they kept it away from that.
Well, I mean, you know, when we talk spoilers, they're going in a very obvious direction here. I mean, even with just the title of the next couple films, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then it's, it doesn't have a title yet, but Godzilla versus King Kong, so you know where that's going, and it's going with Godzilla, or King Kong shoving a tree down Godzilla's throat. Well, one can only hope. Yeah, one can only hope that there's that callback. I really hope that there's that callback. But like Harrison said, this movie is fun. It's not really trying to be anything other than a fun movie. And I think, if we looked at this movie versus, say, a director like Michael Bay, who makes movies that a lot of people consider to be fun, or big, dumb movies. They don't do what this movie did so well, which is give us characters to root for, give us characters to care about, give us characters that we want to see, like, survive, but also want to see them in interesting situations that pushes them as characters. And I honestly am not the biggest fan of Tom Hiddleston, but he was really good in this film. Like, I appreciated his character, but ultimately his character is not the character that I personally cared about.
Well, I like that we kind of shift our characters for a while. I mean, just the whole idea of, like, starting with the younger John C. Reilly character. Tom Hiddleston is our lead for a while. For a little bit, it's John Goodman is our lead. And even you could say that Samuel L. Jackson is kind of our lead for a little while. He plays almost more of this, like, Captain Ahab type character. But I love that we are sharing these responsibilities between this group of really super actors. I mean, you've got, Oscar winners, Oscar nominees in here, just every single person, even to some of the lowliest grunts, no offense, just they're played by really good actors, and you can really get a good sense of their performance from it. I was very impressed with the acting from this film.
I always feel bad for Toby Kebbell, because that guy just seems to get the short end of the stick in everything that he's in.
Yeah. Well, at least in this one he gets to play two roles, because he was Kong and Chapman.
Yeah, at least he wasn't, whatever that was supposed to be in Fan Four Stick, which I still don't know what that was, and maybe I never will. But, I mean, everyone is perfectly cast in this film. Even, like, there are points in this film where, like you said, it shifts from who we're following as the main character, and it never feels forced. And it never feels like I shouldn't care about this character. And I think that's, again, I was watching some interviews with Jordan Vogt-Roberts, who is the director of the film, and he was talking with some of his director buddies, and they were like, we feel bad. We're so sorry that you have to, write, dialogue for 15 characters and have it all work together. But it works so well, and it's so surprising, because he is not a director of these kinds of films. Like, this is not the kind of film that he's known for. He directs, small indie film and, TV, and webisodes. This is not, this is not his, wheelhouse, as it were.
I'm surprised that with three screenplay by credits and a story by credits that are all different guys, I'm surprised that this feels as cohesive as it does. I mean, I really felt I felt the screenwriting when it came to this. Like, I could imagine myself sitting at home reading this and just being amazed at the turn of every page. And I think that a lot of credit, and this is just my gut feeling, if this wasn't how it really happened, I apologize, but I feel like Dan Gilroy really brought a lot to the screenplay, because I've read his other scripts before, and he knows how to write, and he knows how to write stories like this. So I was very impressed by just the way that we have these different turns, that we have all the different stories that are going on at the same time, that you're following. When they split up, it doesn't feel like, oh shit, we just lost, half the action. No, instead we have this great balance between what the soldiers are doing, what Hiddleston and Brie are doing, what John C. Reilly is doing. I thought that it flowed really well when it came to just the balance of the action.
It was very much an ensemble piece, and I thought that was very impressively done. That included King Kong himself as being almost a member of the cast in a just slightly different way. And it's all these people who are just on this island running around doing their own unique things with their own motivation for what they're trying to do. And we see them cross paths at different times, and it was very interesting to see that happen.
I think the other thing about this movie, for me, that King Kong 2005 and Godzilla 2014, I think, is the biggest offender in this case. The monsters outside of Kong, right? Because a good protagonist is only as good as his antagonist. The monster characters outside of Kong and the ones that inhabit this island, I mean, like, they're so well done. Like, they're really well done and really well thought out in a way that, again, I hope that this continues moving forward with, the next couple MonsterVerse is what they're calling it now, films, but the bamboo spider, the giant kraken in the pond, the whatever the bird things were, and then obviously the monsters that Kong fights, the skull crawlers, as John C. Reilly so begrudgingly calls them.
It sounded cooler in his head.
Yeah, right? They're all really, like, well thought out, like, interesting, and the skull crawlers are actually quite terrifying. Like, compared to most monsters, like, I know, and this is probably going to take some flack, I didn't like Pacific Rim. I felt that it was kind of I know that that's kind of like sacrilege in the kaiju universe, because Guillermo del Toro loves kaiju movies, and this was his, like, it was kind of like his, like, love letter to kaiju fans. But for me, it just fell flat, because a lot of the action takes place at night in the dark, and they're fighting in, like, the water, or they're fighting in, like, a city, and you can't tell what's going on. But in this movie, like, they're out in the open, in the broad daylight, a lot of this. And there's something to be said for not using the lighting to cover up shoddy CGI.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of the faults of Pacific Rim land on the shoulders of, what's his name, Charlie Hunnam or whatever from...
Sam Crow?
Whatever. I mean, he can't hold up a movie to me. It was funny, they showed a preview for The Lost City of Zed before the movie, and I was like, well, this looks interesting, but then when I realized who it was as the lead, I was like, I don't know if I can follow that guy for another 2 hours, because he is like, he's as anti-charismatic as the guy, the guy from Avatar who was in Clash of the Titans. They just seem like charisma sponges. They're black holes when it comes to stuff, and it's like, give me somebody who I can care about for a couple hours. These guys aren't it.
Other Jai Courtney, Sam Worthington.
Oof, man, Jai Courtney.
Just roast them all together. Roast them in a big charismaless pot together.
You know what? Just give me fucking John Goodman or John C. Reilly. Just put those guys at the head of the movie, and I'd be more than happy to watch it. I mean, John C. Reilly, every time he was on screen, he just owned it. He's up against, Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston. I don't care. I just want to watch John C. Reilly. He was so awesome.
Well, and he's a character that you're invested in from the get-go in the film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The thing that I really liked about this movie is the way that they developed the characters. They did not spend, like, a crazy amount of time giving you everybody's backstory. They just worked it into the story in such a perfect way that you get a feeling for and sort of understand where all these characters are coming from, without the movie having to, like, overtly explain everything to you, which is wonderful for a change. Because most movies that have come out in the last however freaking long has now made it so that they have to describe to you in great detail why every character is there. And I get that with this insane ensemble cast, if they were to do that, this would be a 17-hour-long movie. But I think this movie did a really good job of just saying, like, here's the characters, and then as the story goes along, you get the reasons why you like them or don't like them or care about them or, you know, where they're coming from and why they're here and shit like that. It was done in a really, really good way that I haven't seen done like this in a good while.
Well, it's all show, don't tell. I mean, that box of Samuel Jackson's, you know, where he's looking down and, you know, just is like, what is this all for or whatever. It's like, that's amazing. That just tells you everything. It tells you that the war is over, but he's a soldier. He has nothing left. Once a war is gone, he has nothing. He is war. And it's so nice. I mean, it takes 5 minutes for us to see that, if that. And it just sets up the whole character for the rest of the movie. Tom Hiddleston, to your point, I mean, we could have spent so much friggin' time on why is he here in this, you know, Asian country and what happened with this and that. And you get those little moments of like, yeah, my dad threw me his lighter before he left for the war, or, you know, just seeing what a badass he is with the pool cue and stuff at the beginning. It's like, okay, just those little moments. I don't need to have his whole backstory. I don't need to do a Richard Kelly and read a comic book about him before I go see the movie. I don't have to do homework to understand who this character is. I just get in a couple shots. Great. I'm good. I don't need more than what I got when it came to his character.
Yeah.
Every single scene and every single line of dialogue, because there are so many characters, they have to be with purpose. There has to be a purpose to each line of dialogue, and rarely do you see a film like this where each line has a purpose, and it furthers either the story or the character or, you know, what have you. I mean, there are few films that I've seen that take it upon themselves to utilize the dialogue in a way that is furthering the film, as opposed to just, okay, well, yeah, this is happening. Or, well, let's make some crazy quip. Like, there are quips. There's some really funny stuff in this film. Like Eric said, this film doesn't take itself very seriously, which I think works to its advantage. But at the same time, every line of dialogue feels like there's a point to it.
Yeah, exactly. This movie feels so freaking streamlined. Like, I'm just going to assume that there are so many writing and story credits on this movie because somebody wrote the story and then they were writing the script and then somebody else came in with the red pen and just said, don't need this, don't need this, don't need that. And then reworked it, edited it so that version of it worked. And they basically just cut it to be, here's like the most action-packed, like non-stop, like script that we can have where everything still makes sense and you care about everything. The movie never, ever gets boring. Ever. Once. And they killed it. It's awesome.
The one part where the movie does slow down, but it slows down for a reason, is when they visit the village. And I just want to call out that I love the kind of the design of that scene. This, like, all of the villagers having these tattoos or facial decorations that are these rectangles and squares. They almost look like Klimt paintings, you know. And then when you go into that battleship that has landed there, I kept thinking of Lost throughout so much of this, but a much better version of Lost. When they go inside of that and all of their art is also done in those rectangles and squares, and the way that the camera kind of lines up with these different poles and shows you these mosaics that they've put together. Just great stuff, you know, and those are just such small, or they could be small moments, but it's such a nice way to see this stuff. And then also for John C. Reilly to kind of give us this whole idea of there were more apes than just Kong, that these skull creatures killed them, and just how horrible they are, and that Kong is our protector. I mean, it's a really nice way to tell that bit of the story, and again, to have those people in the know about the importance of Kong, and that Kong isn't the monster, he's the protector, versus the military guys who are still out in the country and not getting that information, though Samuel L. Jackson, I don't think, would believe it if he was even told that. So I really like the way that we have that village designed, and the way that, again, Reilly talks to the people and they talk to him without even saying a word.
Kind of along those same lines, talking about the village and the design that went into it, I really appreciated that this movie went for a rule of cool when it came to everything. Because when you stop to think about it, the village, it looked amazing. It didn't feel at all slightly realistic. Like, why would people go to the trouble of lining up these these special little pillars and putting slight amounts of color on them to try to create a mural instead of just drawing it. And when you look at a lot of real life art from that time, not time period, but of that level of society, you'll see stuff that's a lot more kind of stick figures. Well, what they had was like full on Banksy black and white silhouette art. And so they went with this very interesting design. And to a degree, I almost go back to the Peter Jackson King Kong comparison. Peter Jackson's King Kong came out in 2005, and it was right in the middle of when Hollywood was doing this Jason Bourne and Batman Begins era of art design, and everything was very kind of monochromatic and very gray. With Peter Jackson's King Kong, it kind of worked because it was a remake of a black and white movie, but most of the monsters on the island are very colorless. You fight these giant T-Rexes, and they're all very various shades of gray. Most of the monsters on the island felt like they were various shades of gray. This whole movie is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Guardians of the Galaxy era of Hollywood. Everything is just hyper colorful. When we are introduced to Tom Hiddleston, we are introduced to him in this neon lit Nicholas Winding Refn looking bar, and everybody is bright blue and bright red because of the neon signs in the background. All the creatures on the island, they're all colorful and bright, and that was a really interesting design. I'm really happy to see them just let loose with this, and it makes sense because they're giant monsters, and this is not supposed to be realistic. This is supposed to be slightly ridiculous, if also awesome and really well designed.
And it's so strange to me, and Mike and I were talking about this before we got on the podcast, it's sad to me and strange to me that this movie takes place in the Godzilla universe, because, man, it's like tonally way different, and it feels way different, and I don't know how they're going to successfully pit these two together unless it's, look at how dichotomically different these characters are, and how different they are against one another. But, I mean, we're going from that goddamn Godzilla movie that is just so bad, and so, it's up its own ass, it's boring, it takes actors and wastes them in a way that I think is practically criminal, especially with Bryan Cranston, who I don't think he's been in any movie, serious film that's been good, except for Trumbo, but that's because they know how to play to his strengths. And then you put him in that film, and he's, killed in the first 30 minutes, and so then there's not any characters to care about because you have another charisma sponge in Aaron Taylor Johnson, and then you have a film like this that has characters you care about. The monster design is unique, it's awesome, it's really interesting, it's got an interesting style, and it looks exciting. Like Harrison said, the monsters are all colorful. There are some shots in this movie that are amazing, on top of everything else, and yet it takes place in the universe of 2014 Godzilla, which is about as by-the-numbers, bland, and rote a monster movie as humanly possible.
Yeah, that movie definitely felt like it was still in the 2000s era of a grim and dark and colorless, color-drained. They're Warner Brothers and Legendary, and I believe they've been involved with a lot of the recent DC movies, which have been very color-drained, and they've emphasized things being closer to black and white, not very colorful, not very much focused on interesting design. They've focused on realism, or at least this impression of realism that frequently just ends up being boring.
Oh, did they make Batman vs. Superman?
Why does every podcast go back to that fucking movie?
Because Legendary and Warner Brothers made that film.
I know.
Well, and interestingly, this one seemed to be also co-produced by a Chinese a company as well.
Yeah, 10 Cent Pictures.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where this goes from here in regards to Godzilla and King Kong meeting up. Frankly, I hope that King Kong just takes Godzilla and breaks his spine in half, and we don't have to deal with Godzilla, and King Kong is the focus. But, that's me just, loving the character of King Kong way more even before this film anyways. I also, going back to the look of the film, and like I mentioned, there are some shots in this film that are astounding. Especially a couple of the shots when, and this is kind of the big scene, and we're going to be transitioning to spoilers here in a second, but the scene where Kong shows up is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't seen an action sequence in a film that requires so many moving parts where I can tell what's going on. And like I can follow the action and not feel like Michael Bay Transformers, where it's like I need to be on Ritalin to be able to figure out what's going on, because it is so just like all over the place.
No, I was able to follow those battle scenes, the scenes with Kong versus the creatures, all of that flowed together very well. I never felt like stuff was being shot in confuso-vision.
Yeah, and it's a testament to Jordan Vogt-Roberts' ability to really, I don't know, thrive in a situation that, again, this is not the kind of film that he's known for. He's not a big-budget action director. He's not Rennie Harlan. Not that he makes good movies, but, you know...
He used to.
Yeah, he did for a while. But, I mean, there is a shot of the helicopters flying on an orange background towards the sun, and Kong stands up, and I swear to God, that's the best thing I've seen at the movies this year. That shot is astounding.
Yep, I was fucking losing it. It was great.
If you saw that shot, it tells you everything you need to know about what this movie is. Because the shot of those helicopters against the orange background with Kong standing up, it automatically evokes, for me, Apocalypse Now meets King Kong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I could see some of the art direction of all things, The Force Awakens, Star Wars The Force Awakens. It felt like it had that kind of artistic look to it, that it was going for some very pretty shots like that you could compare King Kong standing in front of the sun to the TIE fighters flying in front of the sun. There was some similar shots. And it also had that very similar, as was mentioned earlier, show, don't tell. Force Awakens focused a lot on trying to show you things without describing them in words as much as possible. And this movie felt like it was doing a very similar thing.
And the other shot in the film that really just I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Tom Hiddleston with a gas mask on and a samurai sword on a green background fighting these flying monsters. I mean, dear God.
Oh, dude.
With blue blood.
Yeah.
Right. With blue blood too. It's like whoever came up with the color design for this film, I hope that this gets recognized for something, because it was astounding.
That whole scene in the quote-unquote Valley of Death with those giant skulls and rib cages and everything, just... Man, when a bomb goes off inside of one of those Kong skulls and just the whole thing is engulfed in flames, just took my breath away. It was so good.
Yeah, it's. I know, we talk about these big action movies. I can't think of a whole lot of big action movies, because ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a big action movie. I can't think of a whole lot of big action movies that have a sense of style that this film does. Most of them don't have stuff like this. They don't even care. It's not a priority to show something cool that isn't just shit blowing up or someone getting their head blown up.
Right.
That's not a thing that happens a whole lot anymore. There are certain niche films. John Wick 2 kind of had a lot of this stuff that Kong was doing, where it's there's awesome stuff going on, but it also looks cool. Everything around what's going on is really awesome. The setting is really great as well.
Yeah, and the scale of this movie just makes all of that stuff even crazier, because like you said, it's very stylized like John Wick 2, and there's there's a decent amount of action movies in recent years that have been hyper stylized like this. But just the fact that this movie has this humongous scale to it with the gigantic creatures and this insane island. Before they even get to the island, they have to fly these helicopters through a perpetual storm, and you're just going, what? It looks like that sequence out of Mad Max when they drive into that crazy dust storm, but it's over the ocean. They're flying through this hurricane, and then they just make it out onto the other side, and it's this crazy island, and then shit just gets wilder and bigger and more amazing from there. So, I mean, having that hyper-stylized look with the gigantic scale of this movie is it's awe-inspiring, some of the shots that they got.
Well, when they start off the battle with Kong by that fucking palm tree flying through the air and going through the front of a helicopter, it's oh my God, what the fuck just happened? Yeah. And then it's on.
Right, because
I audibly went,
they're playing, what are they? They're playing, God, what's
it's Black Sabbath.
Yeah. If I had one complaint about the movie, it would be the needle drops. That's the only... Well, I have two complaints about the movie. One is the needle drops. I was just is this fucking Suicide Squad again? Can we please stop with all these needle drops of these songs? That's one thing. And then the second one is the very end of the film with that home movie footage, where I'm just who is shooting this home movie footage? Because there are about 150 cuts to have John C. Reilly come in and shake his son's hand. How many cuts do we need in this home movie footage? That's it, though.
It felt a tad forced at the end. Like, I don't know if I needed to see that.
No.
Oh, I straight up walked out of the movie during that part. I was like, I don't care. I saw what I wanted to see. I saw Kong fuck shit up. John C. Reilly meeting his son just doesn't matter to me.
All right, well, let's talk spoilers since we're kind of giving it away. So, the thing, one of the few things about this film that really surprised me, how many people survived?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah. I thought
a third of the cast survived.
I thought Brie Larson was going to be the only person left.
I'm really glad that she wasn't, though. I'm really glad that it wasn't like classic Kong, where like the woman softens Kong and then like saves other people because like Kong falls in love with a human woman. Like, I never understood why that was ever a thing, and I'm really glad that they didn't do that.
Why would Kong need to be softened since he's already defending humans?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. So it
was interesting that this movie opted to completely not do a love interest storyline, and that applied both to the humans and to Brie Larson's character with King Kong. They did it both ways. They just didn't have a romance going on, or not even at least not a very heavily implied one. And so I thought that was interesting. It was kind of refreshing. We almost forced the romance plot in way too much.
Yeah, there's one moment where Hiddleston and Larson are together, and Kong is there, and he kind of looks back over his shoulder and just like, okay, you got this. You know, it's almost like the love that dare not speak its name as he goes off into the jungle. And I was like, thank God that was it. You know, I'm so glad that when he's holding Brie Larson in his paw, it's not like, you know, that whole horrible Jessica Lange scene where Kong is blowing on her and stuff. I'm so glad that didn't happen. There was just enough. I didn't need all that other horse shit.
I'm curious, though, how this movie would have panned out with the characters, because the two people that were originally attached to the film and that didn't end up being in the film were Michael Keaton in John C. Reilly's role and J.K. Simmons in Samuel L. Jackson's role. And I know that a lot of what we're going to be talking about in spoilers is John C. Reilly's character and Samuel L. Jackson's character, because they're kind of the biggest characters in the film, and I'm talking big like in their personalities and kind of their characterizations. Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson always plays these kinds of characters, and I think a lot of the time for me it feels forced, but man, in this film, I mean, it works perfectly in this film. Absolutely perfectly. His character, and what they were going for with his character is perfect in this film.
Yeah, I loved it. It was wonderful. Oh my God. I mean, if you have J.K. Simmons in Samuel L. Jackson's role, then you don't have, I don't know. I mean, you can't have some of the iconic lines that he says in this movie. You can't have the
awesome Jurassic Park throwback.
Yeah, the
Jurassic Park throwback. That was the best.
Yep.
When he said, "Hold on to your butts," I looked at my buddies I was at the movie with, and I was just grinning like a fucking idiot. I was like, Jesus, like, that's how you do a callback to another movie. That's how you do it. It's just like a throwaway line. Just complete. Like, it's just throwaway. Like, you don't even, like, ape for the camera, no pun intended.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Yeah, had it been J.K. Simmons, now, I love J.K. Simmons, but had it been him, it would have been almost like his J. Jonah Jameson character. It would have been like the gruff soldier guy. He would have almost been channeling Stephen Lang from Avatar or something. And you would have been waiting for him to get stomped on by Kong. Whereas with Samuel L. Jackson, there's a moment where you think he can survive. He's just so batshit crazy, and he has this whole personal thing and the whole idea of, the war not being over for this guy, and it just, he killed my men, all this kind of stuff. I really, I was very much of two minds when it came to that character, because I was like, I understand where he's coming from. He's wrong. He shouldn't kill Kong, but I can really understand that this is personal for him, and I just kept thinking, okay, yeah, he might actually live through this movie. There is a chance. And I was so glad, too, I'm glad we're in spoilers, but I'm so glad, too, that all of those explosives that he kept pushing for and trying to get over to the other side of the island to get those explosives, that those really never came about. Like, they were all set up and everything, but then there wasn't a moment where it was like, oh, fine, like somebody takes a box of those and we save them for the final battle and, shoot one into one of the Skull Crusher's mouths, and it's just like, smile, you son of a bitch. There was none of that kind of horseshit when it came to the whole idea of having that Deus Ex Machina of, oh, we have these charges, we're going to use these charges. They're there in the story and we almost use them, but that we don't, I was really grateful for.
We were so close to getting Samuel L. Jackson motherfucker in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they already said fuck. That was the thing. Again, John C. Reilly's character, one of the best uses of fuck in a film. I laughed out loud at that line.
Oh, man. I wanted to see those fucking ants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The bird ants.
You think it's a bird, but it's a fucking ant. Just like, what the fuck? What are you even talking about?
I'm wondering if that was even scripted, man.
I'm sure.
That sounded like an ad-lib.
Oh, yeah. That's what I love about that guy.
And the moments in the movie that are like that, where you have, like, you know, it's like at night, they're out in the wild, like, trying to stay alive, like, trying to go and save Kong because Samuel L. Jackson's about to fuck him up. And then just out of nowhere, you get this, like, tension release. Like, where shit is just funny. It's amazing. The other part that happens, like, almost right after, like, a few minutes later, when they get to Samuel L. Jackson's camp, and Brie Larson says something like, oh, blah, blah, you can't, like, he's our protector. And Samuel L. Jackson goes, bitch, please! I fucking lost my shit. I was dying.
Yeah, you're waiting for her to give this huge emotional speech and, like, you know, change his mind or something. And then he just comes back with that, and it's like, oh, okay, this is good.
Yeah, he just cuts her off, like, mid-sentence. Just like, bitch, please. Oh, my God, that was the best. I'm really happy on how that all went down, how Samuel L. Jackson, like, didn't change his mind and, like, just, he went full crazy and tried to kill Kong, and then Kong fucked him up.
I'm really disappointed that we didn't get a J.K. Simmons in the film so he could just look at someone and be like, get me pictures of Spider-Man. And then it just, like, holds on him for a couple seconds because, you know, in less adept hands, that's how we would have gotten a call back. Watch out for that spider, man.
Right.
Man, that would have been...
Or they could have done, like, a callback to, like, one of his State Farm commercials. And it's just, like, at the very end of the movie, like, in the credits, it's, like, 1973, Skull Island. Kong, we covered it.
I have to say that Brie Larson should have been taking more photos, but that, I would have been like fuck Dennis Hopper in Apocalypse Now, man. Had all those cameras around my neck and just like snapping photos all over the place. It was like, really, come on, there's some great shots here. Keep going.
It's
like at a certain point, you just got to be like, it's either my ass or these pictures, and we got to save that ass. So,
and it's a nice ass too. She is so cute.
Brie Larson.
It's true.
It's true. Can confirm the fappening. Check it out if you haven't yet.
Oh, Lord Almighty.
Oh, Lord Almighty, indeed. Yeah, the movie's got a really, again, we've talked about the kind of the actors involved. I mean, Brie Larson, Oscar winner. John C. Reilly, Samuel L. Jackson, nominated. It's just everyone in this film, even the people that aren't the nominated folk. I mean, everybody does such a goddamn good job. And it's just, it's hard to really find any big complaints with the characters because they're kind of stereotypes in a way, but they don't feel like, they don't feel trite, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got that core group of soldiers, like 4 or 5 soldiers, and you start to really feel for them. I mean, the guy that Thomas Mann played, who is, the guy with the red headband, is just like, okay, he's there with the non-coms and hanging out with them and kind of getting where they're coming from. And, every single one of those guys, I mean, what was there's the kind of like crazy guy. I do love that part too, where he's talking about the story of the lion and the thorn, the mouse and the thorn and the lion.
Oh yeah,
I mean, just nice little moments like that. It's like, oh, your mom told you that way? Wow, that explains a lot. It's like, wow, that's a great line, and it explains the character. How terrific.
Kind of along those lines, I noticed there was 3 points specifically where there was military people who told a parable and appeared to completely miss the point of the parable. There's the lion and the mouse. Samuel L. Jackson earlier than that talks about Icarus, but the way he applies it is he says Icarus, instead of focusing on Icarus flies too close to the sun, he's overcome with hubris, he focuses on Icarus had wax wings, and the wax wings were given to him by his father, who was not responsible enough with the kind of material he used. And he says, he's talking about the helicopters, and he says the helicopters had wings of, like, I think he says Pittsburgh steel. And so you hear that, you hear, I think there's a third one where the same guy was talking about the mouse and the lion. He talks about finding an enemy in the local farmer who had never used a gun before, and then by the end of his own parable, his response is just, "Well, I have my gun. I'm going to be fine when it comes down to a fight." But they all seem to miss the point of their parables, which I thought was an interesting recurring theme, particularly with the military personnel.
And that same character, I think it's like Shea Wingham is his name.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's an awesome actor. I love him and everything. That sequence, like where one of the skull crawlers is chasing him and he's just like, all right, fuck it, dude, I'm going to handle this. And he's like, get out of here. And he grabs like 2 grenades and he pops the pin out like the thing is going to come over. You instantly think, okay, the skull crawler is going to come over and eat him, and then he's going to blow it up from the inside, right? Nope, the thing just whips around and smacks him with its tail, and he just goes flying to, like, the other opposite end of the island.
That was so awesome. Well, kind of along those lines, sorry to jump around, but the whole thing, I did not expect to see Goodman get it when he got it. And then the whole thing of him and his stupid camera flash, and the camera flash in the fog in that Valley of Death sequence. That was amazing. And the noise of the flashbulb, and listening to that on the big screen with the stereo and everything, and hearing the flashbulb over on the right channel, over on the left channel, behind us. I mean, it's like, that is great stuff, man.
It felt like a nod to Jaws.
Yes.
With Jaws and the giant containers that they shoot to try to...
The barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
Yeah, the barrels. Yeah, dude. So many awesome moments in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, it's so many moments that are really elevated by someone having the wherewithal to be like, okay, this is an interesting idea. They're fighting in and around the Kong, like, Valley of Death, elephant graveyard area. And they're fighting in there, but like, let's elevate it with an interesting use of color or a novel idea with a character's camera going off after they've been eaten. I mean, it's a very distinct eye for what they want to do, and a way to do it that doesn't feel just by the books. And I think that you have to give John Vogt-Roberts a lot of the credit with looking at a shot and saying, this is what I want out of the shot, and it making so much sense, and it works. Most everything in this film worked for me. And I really like the scene that you talked about where the character is trying to sacrifice himself for the group, and it subverts your expectation completely.
Yeah.
I mean, how often in a film do you see a character do that and then just get fucking owned? Just completely, just boop, dead. Sorry.
It's the best.
And you're just like, wow, that was for nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, the whole first sequence when you see Kong, and it's Kong versus, like, 9 helicopters, or however many helicopters there are, and they all go down, and you have, like, these shots from inside each of the helicopters, and you get the outside shots of Kong swinging at the helicopters, but then you get the shots from inside each of the helicopters, like seeing different angles of what's going on and people's reaction to what's happening. That whole sequence, I mean, that takes place like 15, 20 minutes into the movie. Like, it's crazy, like, to start off like your Kong experience with that sequence. It was amazing.
Well, we talked a lot about the film and what goes on in the film. Let's talk a little bit about, and I don't know, Eric, you said you walked out, the post-credits scene.
Oh, there was a scene post-credit.
Yes. That's why you need the Run P app. Allow me to tell you about the Run P app, which will tell you when it is perfect time. It'll give you little lines of dialogue where it will say, like, you can leave here for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, So it's really nice when it comes to that, especially as you get older. You will need that a little bit more. But it also will tell you, kind of crowdsourced, it will say there are things after the end credits, there aren't things after the end credits. The end credits last for this long. So, as soon as the movie was over, I was like, okay, pulled up Run P. Yep, okay, stick around.
Nice.
I thought you were kidding. Nice. This is a real thing.
It's a real app.
Oh, my God.
It is fantastic. And you can even, so the thing about the dialogue stuff, you can even, like, start the timer on the app when the movie starts, put it in your pocket, and it will buzz for you when it's time to get up and go to the bathroom if you want to go.
Oh, God.
Amazing.
It's great.
Dude.
Yeah.
I needed that app. Yeah, we smuggled a bunch of beers into the movie theater, so that was...
that app has really, I mean, we watched Logan last week, and it was like, okay, do we sit around through these end credits, pulled it up? Nope, nothing. All right, good, we're gone, man.
But Mike, you should have known better. James Mangold said obviously there wasn't going to be a post-credit scene because in that movie, you know, it's pretty obvious why, okay? Okay, thanks, James Mangold. Thank you. Cool story.
I was waiting to find out that Jean Grey was actually X-24's or X-23's mother.
Yeah, right. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
But let's talk about the post-credit scene, though. So for those of you who didn't stick around for the post-credit scene, and this includes you, Eric.
God damn it.
Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson's character are detained by Monarch at the end of the film. Monarch is the shadowy government agency that is looking for monsters, and that includes John Goodman's character and Corey Hawkins' character as well. We find out later towards in this post-credit scene, and they're informed by Monarch that they're being held in this room with one-way mirrors, and they're told that Kong is not the only monster to roam the world, and then they're shown cave paintings of Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. And then as the screen fades to black, you hear the Godzilla roar.
Yeah. Though I have to say it was kind of spoiled for me because as I'm watching the credits, it says Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan are property of Toho Limited. And I was like, oh, okay, now I know what the end credit sequence is going to be.
Yeah, when we were sitting in the film and saw the credits, I was like, oh yeah, okay, so this is where this is going. Like,
right.
They don't even try to hide it.
They released the end credits, I think just in written form. They released the end credits a couple weeks ago, and the internet had already extrapolated that was those four monsters. Oh, well, okay, they're going to appear in some form.
Right.
The assumption was pretty much always post-credits or something like that.
So, Harrison, as a major kaiju fan, and as someone who wrote an article up on the site, a fantastic article about Mothra and how they're doing a Mothra film, or Mothra is going to be in an American kaiju film, I'm curious kind of seeing it come to fruition now on screen, so it's kind of locked in. What's kind of your take on that post-credit scene and kind of the way forward with this whole MonsterVerse?
It was a clever way of showing us that these are the monsters to expect next without necessarily giving us a huge amount of information on how they're going to be presented. I am still concerned. I really, really want Mothra's little identical twin fairies to show up because I think it's not really Mothra unless you have those. The penis Shobajin. The other thing is the tiniest hint of a concern. I also kind of want King Ghidorah to be from space, as he usually is in the original movies. That's not like a deal breaker at all because honestly, it looks like it's going to be a really good, it looks like a very faithful design just from the little cave drawings that we got of it. They even included that he's shooting lightning, so it's not going to be like just random fire or anything. I mean, we're getting the most important details here already, and that's excellent. But the big takeaway is I really want the fairies, and so I'm just hoping that ends up being a part of it.
Do you think that they're going to make a Mothra standalone film, or do you think that this is just going to be part of the Godzilla canon?
I would love if they did a Mothra standalone film because of all the kaiju, I think she's the one who, of all the Japanese kaiju who are considered Godzilla monsters, I think she's the one who could do it. The only thing is, I'm not sure how you would do a Mothra film that wasn't more or less a rehash of this movie because she's very similar to King Kong. She's the monster hanging out on an island being worshipped by the locals. And this movie pretty much heroized King Kong almost more than any other version of the movie has, any other version of the character has, unless they could come up with some very new thing. I'm not sure how they would do it. The other part of it is Mothra. I almost feel like a Mothra standalone film would be a good setup for Godzilla fighting Mothra. But again, you can't really do that right now because Godzilla's already basically a superhero in these movies. So there's not a huge reason for them to fight each other, especially not as a headline movie fight. So I'm not really sure where they'd go if they were going to try to recreate what Toho already did. But if they went in an entirely new direction, I would very much be open to seeing that.
Right. It's like you've got Rodan and King Ghidorah who are almost always bad. But now you've got Godzilla, Mothra, and Kong, who are all now kind of good guys. And so, I mean, you can go against Rodan and Ghidorah, but at the same time, maybe we'll have those. What did they call them in that Godzilla movie? The Mudos.
The Mudos. They were such interesting characters.
Well, they looked like Rodan to me, or they looked like or there was the one guy from Gamma versus Giron that kind of looked like with the sloped head and stuff. But
Gauss.
Thank you, Gauss. So yeah, I'm curious if they'll have to come up with a new creature in order to have those guys fight them, because the whole idea of even Godzilla versus King Kong right now doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense, because they are kind of more protectors than they are antagonists.
Well, and that's the problem with the way that they did that Godzilla movie, is they made Godzilla the good guy in that film. Why? Why? If you knew that this was maybe where you were going to be heading, you cannot have both of them be good guys. We saw how that worked with Batman versus Superman. It just doesn't work. One of them has to be inherently evil in some form or fashion for it to be an interesting back and forth. I mean, Freddy versus Jason, not a great film, but you rooted for Jason, not Freddy, because Jason ultimately is like, there's a reason he's doing what he's doing in that story. In Batman versus Superman, you never really get the sense that there's a reason they should be fighting. And right now, like you said, Mike, why would King Kong fight Godzilla? Because they're both good guys. They're both technically defenders of humans. Like, why? Why?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that would make less sense is to introduce Gamera into it, because we all know he is the hero of children.
I think there's a very strong chance they try to have some of the they try to have Godzilla and King Kong end up teaming up. Part of it is just that it would be really difficult to try to make these two characters, they're both essentially the protagonists of their own series, good guy or bad guy aside, they're the protagonists. They've both got audiences rooting for them. You're rooting for King Kong, I'm rooting for Godzilla. That's where my background is in kaiju. And in this particular case, it feels like somebody is going to leave the audience, somebody is going to leave disappointed if one of them wins definitively. And that's, I think, kind of how the original King Kong versus Godzilla had a struggle, because at the end of the movie, they fight each other, they go back and forth, they roll off a cliff into the ocean, King Kong leaves. And it doesn't really feel like that definitive of a win for either character. Godzilla just keeps coming back in other movies, so it's obvious he didn't die or anything, and King Kong basically just goes home. So it feels like they have to find some way of focusing this fight in a different direction by the end of the movie in order for it to be satisfactory to everyone in the audience.
Well, and that's kind of the thing, right, with this whole MonsterVerse, is that like any other versus film where you have these two massive, very well-loved creatures, characters, what have you, they ultimately boil down to, except for a film like Freddy vs. Jason, them teaming up at the end, or three-quarters of the way through the film to fight the bigger, issue, the thing that they didn't realize was going on the whole time. So, I mean, that's probably what King Kong versus Godzilla is going to be. I mean, I would love to see a 2-hour-long film of just them, kicking the shit out of each other, as long as it's filmed in a way that is like Kong Skull Island and not like the Godzilla film. Because in Kong Skull Island, I could tell what was going on when he was fighting the Skullcrawler at the end. It was amazing. I mean, that fight at the end, take notes, anyone who makes a kaiju film, because an American kaiju film with CGI monsters, because it was really well done. And you could tell what was going on, and you could see beat for beat where the punches were going. There was a weight to what was going on. They were bumping the lamp. I mean, they went the distance with what I was hoping for in that fight. And if that's what that film is going to be, it's going to be exciting and interesting. But, I mean, you're right, Harrison. Someone is going to walk away disappointed if they just go straight fighting and then one of them dies at the end. But they're not going to do that. I mean, they won't. There's no point. They can't afford to kill one off, because there's no way to resurrect them unless they, nuke. They drop a nuke on them and they wake up. So
I am curious how many movies they're going to end up trying to get out of this, because, well, for starters, with Godzilla, we're used to them making things in trilogies anymore. We get the Marvel movies, and it feels like most of these are trying to cap out a trilogy. With Godzilla, we're assuming Godzilla versus King Kong at this point is going to end up being the third movie. It's easy to assume that's the end, but we're looking at so far 2 movies in, and they're looking at completely different human casts, and Godzilla's more or less a special effect. You can easily have him keep going without worrying about actor changes or anything like that. So I'm wondering if we're going to keep going with Godzilla movies, and then more than that, I am wondering if they're trying to call this the MonsterVerse, they're officially giving it a name for a film shared universe, it can't really just be King Kong and Godzilla. It feels like there's got to be more kaiju out there. So I am curious where they're going to end up trying to go with that.
I mean, are they going to dig deep into the well of Japanese kaiju films? Are they going to, bring out the characters that most Americans don't know about? Gamera, Hedorah, Mechagodzilla. Are they going to dig into that well, or is it just going to be, the ones that everybody has like a base knowledge of? Rodan, Mothra, King Ghidorah.
Well, it's my bad that I brought up Gamera, because we know that he's not owned by Toho. He was who was he owned by? Daiei?
Yeah.
But so there's certain ones that can't get into that. But yeah, there were a lot. I mean, to your point, the Mechagodzilla stuff, the Mecha King Kong. I mean, we can get really cheesy really fast with this stuff if we want.
They could always just have a turtle that breathes fire, Mike. That's true. That children love.
Yeah. And a little kid named Timmy, who's concerned about traffic accidents.
Mechagodzilla is probably the one that I feel like would be a really good character to have show up at some point in the future. If I were to personally make a Godzilla series, I would probably put it at about 4 movies. I'd start with a solo Godzilla movie, then Godzilla versus Mothra, with Mothra as the good guy, Godzilla still as the bad guy, probably Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, human-piloted Mechagodzilla, and have it be kind of a military versus Godzilla where he's starting to be more neutral, and then cap it with Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, where Godzilla finally ends up going basically good guy, because Ghidorah is like the ultimate evil kaiju. At this point, I don't know, anything feels fair game. They've started the characters at more or less where they end up in the middle of the Showa-era Godzilla films, and so I'm really curious to see where they go if they try to keep this going.
What do you think, Eric? Being kind of a kaiju outsider, what's kind of your take on all this?
Dude, as long as they keep making movies along the vein of this movie, I'm down. It's going to be cool no matter what. I'm just excited for more awesome monster movies. I'm just excited, man. I have no dog in the fight as far as like kaiju movies go, The only thing I even know about like Mothra or any of the other, kaijus that Godzilla has faced in the past is just like, the stuff that you see at 3 a.m. when you're watching, some like weird TV channel and they're just like old, 60s Godzilla movies. So I'm down for whatever, man. As long as they make it awesome and cool and go in the same direction as this movie and don't keep everything too serious like Godzilla. Like if they do the DC universe thing where they try to ground everything in reality and make everything serious and quote unquote realistic, I'm not going to be into it. I want it to be fantastical. I want it to be, I just want it to be fun. And that's why this movie is so good, because this movie, it doesn't try to explain anything. It's just fun. It's just like, here's this island full of gigantic monsters. Go. And that's what I want. I want more of that.
They could really tie this thing into the Pacific Rim universe, so we wouldn't have to worry about the whole idea of the Mechagodzilla. I mean, it could just be the mechs from the Pacific Rim universe.
I'm down. I'm in. I want gigantic robots versus gigantic monsters. That's right. I'm all about it. Let's fucking do it.
No thanks.
I know you don't like Pacific Rim. I know you don't
love Pacific Rim, man. It's so much fun. It's like, it's not a great movie, but it's just like a fun movie.
I love Pacific Rim so much.
Yeah, me too.
I think it might be my favorite movie.
I'll say this much about kind of where they might be heading with kind of the future of these films. So you remember there's kind of, it'll probably go down as not a throwaway line if they go the direction I think they're going to go. But when they mention the aliens in King Kong, I feel like that's sowing the seeds for King Ghidorah already.
That is. I mean, when he said that, I almost expected like a little X-Files refrain. Just a little
right, but I mean, like, it's like that's sowing the seeds for King Ghidorah right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, where it's just like, let's not be silly.
Yeah. So. Like, what, aliens? Come on.
But, I mean, we already have the Hollow Earth, which I thought was hilarious since that is such a, a great conspiracy theory. And the way that they pulled it off was really nice. So, I like what they did with this because they did open it up for so many things. And by setting it in 1973, not only do you have it tie into Vietnam, which was really super smart, but the whole idea of now King Kong has, 40 years to grow, almost 50 years to grow, so that he'll be a lot bigger when we have this showdown between him and Godzilla.
Oh, I can't wait, dude.
And let's also not forget that we also can't have the characters that Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson played.
Yeah, you would have
not unless they recast with 50-year plus actors.
They put them in the Little Big Man makeup, and they're just, I'll tell you about King Kong. Yeah.
or it's their kid. But again, there wasn't really a love story, so how could they do that?
I bet the next Kong movie takes place in the 80s. And then you can bring back Hiddleston and Brie Larson and just put them in 80s garb.
That works.
Make them seem 10 years older. They're just going to do the X-Men thing where they just have every decade Kong movie. There you go.
You could say that Godzilla is the Iron Man of the MonsterVerse universe, but I would say that this is the Iron Man of the MonsterVerse universe because it has kind of a similar tone. Iron Man had a lot of humor to it. It was a really well done film, and then at the end it has this kind of teaser thing that sets everything up. It doesn't tell you where it's going exactly, but it sets it up. So well,
they should have had Godzilla or King Kong at a bar and had Samuel L. Jackson's character come back and say, I want to talk to you about the MonsterVerse initiative.
What the fuck?
God damn.
Let's not.
Original Showa Godzilla movies actually did the shared universe Avengers-style monster team-up almost first, because they had, at the time, they had Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, each have their own individual movies, solo movies. They're the only monsters in those, and then they start fighting each other, and then they have the big Ghidorah three-headed monster, where it's the three of them. They all buddy up, they all pal together, and they take down this big giant monster. And I'd even say it's the Avengers, but even to a degree, you could almost put individual monsters connected to the Avengers. I would say Iron Man was Rodan in that situation. King Kong was more along the lines of the Incredible Hulk mostly just wanted to be left alone. And Mothra is kind of this combination of Thor and Captain America all at the same time.
Man, we're getting real deep into nerdness right now.
Well, could you say that the caterpillar Mothra is like Captain America in that he comes back later on? It's almost like he's frozen in ice when he's in that cocoon.
Yeah, Mothra's. I take this too seriously sometimes.
But ultimately, this is really indicative of where our movies are going, right? Jesus Christ. 20 years ago, 97, that's around the time, we're 2 years before the fucking Godzilla, the American Godzilla that everybody always talks about. I
fucking love that movie.
I know, so do I. When that film came out in around 1999, and so we're talking a little more than 20 years later, we've got a monsters connected universe. And
can we have that Godzilla back?
That Godzilla got killed in
Final Wars.
Yeah, Final Wars. Thank you.
Yeah, that Godzilla got fucking murdered. So
don't forget about the
eating iguana.
Yeah.
Right. Don't forget about the connected universes that they're trying to shove down our throats, but have yet to really succeed in. And that whole idea of the I, Frankenstein, the origin of Dracula movie, and then I think even Tom Cruise's The Mummy movie were all supposed to be part of a shared universe of Universal horror films.
I think it turns out that the Dracula movie is not part of it anymore.
Well, that's good.
I think they changed their minds, because when they started making the Dracula movie, it was not supposed to be a part of it, and then they said, hey, we're doing this whole shared universe with the Universal monsters, and we have a Dracula movie going on right now. Let's make them connected. Let's get the drop on this. And then the movie came out. No, I don't think anybody even see it. And they were like, never mind, do over. We're not going to connect those after all.
And now it's starting with the Mummy film,
which
they showed a trailer.
It looks like it's making a lot of mistakes.
Oh, the Mummy looks so fucking bad.
Yeah, and I love that Brandon Fraser Mummy so much. I love it.
Doesn't it make you sad, Mike? It makes me sad. I love that movie so much.
After the preview was over, I leaned over to my wife and I said, "Hey, O'Connell, we've got over the horses."
You're on the wrong side of the river. What a bummer, but what a good thing that the MCU spawned all of these like crazy connected universes. Right? Like, ultimately, it could be a bad thing, but at the same time, like, we could get some really wacky shit out of this.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like you're starting to see a lot of the things that they would normally reserve for movies showing up on TV shows. And TV shows, I think, can almost do the shared universe better because they give you more individual episodic events in these larger stories. So if we're focusing on these things as being larger ongoing stories, franchises, we're getting to flesh out a whole world. You can see, for instance, what the CW is doing with all their DC shows. You're getting weekly updates on what these characters are up to, and then you get to introduce a whole, because you have more time, you get to introduce a lot of new characters here and there and have them team up and fight each other and sometimes change sides and then jump into each other's shows. The movies are trying to do that, but it's a little bit harder because the movies can't flesh them out as much and as quickly as TV shows can. When we're doing a shared universe with Godzilla movies, it works almost better than superheroes do, because superheroes, we want, they're people. With the monsters, they're big, giant ideas. And you can have a story every couple of years with this big, giant monster, and it doesn't feel like you're missing out on the adventures in between. Whereas it's good to see a franchise that I think is really built for big crossover movies, but for film as opposed to TV.
Well, the one thing I like that the Marvel Universe is doing as opposed to the DC Universe, and I can't say that they were successful with this, but the whole idea of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being an answer or being that interim step between the movies, and I think that they were trying to do that fairly well after Hydra came out, after the second Captain America film, but now, I mean, I pretty much gave up on them after like 2 seasons ago because they just couldn't handle it. And then you could also, they could have, if Fox was smarter, they could work in Legion versus the X-Men films. I'm kind of like, people are asking, like, where can the X-Men go after Logan? And I'm kind of hoping nowhere. I really think they need to stop that franchise just because it is terrible. I mean, to have 6 or 8 or however many movies and only have maybe like 2 or 3 of them that are watchable, come on, guys. That's not a good percentage.
Excuse me, sir. They're making another X-Men movie and then a new mutant movie? I'm sorry.
I think that Logan was a setup for a Alpha Flight film, personally.
Fair enough. They're going to Canada. So we're going to close this out, but before we close this out, the one thing I want to ask you guys, if you know, because we talked about these connected universes, and I think that the MonsterVerse, it's kind of so out there in its connected universe that the only other thing that's really it's analogous to is this up-and-coming, the Universal Monsters connected universe. Do you know who the 4 main players are in the Universal Monsters universe that they've already set or cast?
What is it? Is it the Mummy? Is it Dracula?
Not Dracula.
Are they going to...
I'm talking about the actors, not the monsters.
Oh,
well, I don't
care.
Who
cares about the actors?
Yeah, who cares? Right. I care about the monsters.
Okay, I've heard Angelina Jolie as the Bride of Frankenstein, which I would actually really watch if they could do it well. And then I've heard Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man, but I haven't heard a 4th one.
That'd be good. He wouldn't be mugging for the camera the whole time.
Yeah, right. So as it stands right now, Johnny Depp has been cast as the Invisible Man. As it stands right now, Javier Bardem. Yeah, it is official. I guess it was announced last year. Javier Bardem as Frankenstein's monster, and
that's appropriate. No makeup needed.
Ooh, got him. Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll, but they're introducing him in the Mummy. So.
Oh yeah.
And then there's rumors that Scarlett Johansson might be involved in the Creature from the Black Lagoon film. There's rumors that there might be a Van Helsing film, and there's rumors that The Rock may be cast as the Wolfman because God hates all of us. I hate The Rock.
Benicio del Toro is going to be pissed.
I will kill all of you. Oh my God. All right, well, let's wrap this up. So starting with you, Harrison, rating for King Kong out of 5 and best performance.
Out of 5, I would probably say a 4 out of 5. I think there was just a couple things I could have used some more pathos, particularly when the characters got killed. It felt like most of the deaths were just jump scares. That's probably my only major complaint. There didn't feel like there was enough conclusion with a lot of the characters when they died. Other than that, I basically liked everything about it, and I would say strongest cast member was probably John C. Reilly. It's kind of hard to say anybody else.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I would also give it a 4 out of 5. I thought that it was really strong. When this thing comes out and it's available for digital download or Blu-ray, I'll probably pick it up. I could see my wife really watching this over and over again. She loves monster movies. I think she had a good time while we're watching this, and, happy wife, happy life kind of thing. So I'll appease her with King Kong as it goes. Best performance, I have to say John C. Reilly. He just lit up the screen every time he was on, and really, he pretty much kind of stole the movie.
What about you, Eric?
All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5.
Holy cow.
There it is.
It's a fucking awesome movie, and we've talked about this a lot recently, how I've gone and seen movies and liked them initially, and then as I think about the movie more and more, I like it less and less. And this movie is not the case. It's almost the opposite. I went and saw this movie and I loved it, and I keep thinking about it and I just want to go see it again because it's so awesome. Best performance, Kong. The movie's all about Kong, and Kong is the shit in this movie.
I agree. I think the Kong redesign it's really true to what I would expect out of the character of Kong.
Yeah.
It looks more like the 1933 version than it does a real gorilla. It looks and moves like it. It's got kind of a very similar design in the face and the head. And they said there was even some elements of the Japanese Godzilla who fought King Kong, that redesign in here. And you could see that when it was he was more bipedal in this movie than he was in just about any other version.
Yeah,
that's very true. Yeah.
For me, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think, like Harrison said, there are a couple things that really that don't irk me, but are just like as much as I love Vietnam era music from the 70s, it's a little much in spots, like you said, Mike. It's a tad much, Creedence Clearwater Revival, I get it. That's Vietnam era, got it. So it fell a little flat there, but it is so different from that Godzilla from 2014, and I think that is one of the best things about this film, is that it goes in a direction that I think is just unique and different and exciting, that I'm excited to see where they go from here. And best performance, John C. Reilly, I don't think there's... the character of Kong is amazing. I will agree with Eric 100%. But I think John C. Reilly, every time he's on screen, he's the character that you focus on. So, he's just amazing. John C. Reilly can do no wrong, as far as I'm concerned. I was a little disappointed that he didn't get to say, "For your health." But, I'll have to...
Well, he did have it on his jacket.
I know. I don't know if that was that, though. It was there, but I don't know if it was, if that's what they were going for or not. So
I wouldn't be surprised.
What do you guys think the film has on Rotten Tomatoes?
99%.
I'm sure it's got a high 80s or low 90s.
I tend to think critics are a little harsher on genre movies, so I would say probably mid-70s to 80s, lower 80s.
Harrison's right, 79%.
Oh, fuckers.
Offering exhilarating eye candy, solid acting, and fast-paced story, Kong Skull Island earns its spot in the movie... Kong Skull Island Kong Skull Island earns its spot in the movie monsters mythos without ever matching up to the classic original.
Oh, that's bullshit.
It's really not trying to be the original.
Right.
This is the first really, really original, different King Kong that they've done.
I guess I'm sorry that the film wasn't the 2005 film. I don't know how you quantify that against the original.
Right.
What did that make on Rotten Tomatoes?
The 2005 film has a 84.
Wow.
Because Hollywood loves its own parts.
Man.
That's a 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
A 4-hour bad movie.
I just saw a thing, I can't remember if it was Hollywood Reporter or Variety, where it's is it time to reevaluate King Kong? Isn't it a great movie? And it's no. It's not time to reevaluate it, and it's not a great movie.
I know Harrison.
I love you, Peter Jackson, but...
I know Harrison will go to bat for it, but...
I will.
But I think I think that the issue with the 2005 King Kong is that it doesn't do enough different from the original. And the original is such a classic.
Just does it longer.
Yeah. But I think this movie does enough different that I'm just wow, this is crazy. This is a crazy movie. Well, before I talk about the next Kulturecast, Eric, anything you want to plug?
Nah, nothing. Like usual, just, follow me on Twitter. I watched Freaked, finally, and I live tweeted my experience. It was great. It was wonderful. I had an amazing time watching that movie. I'm going to watch it again real soon. Check out Wovoka. That's it.
What about you, Mr. White? What's going on over at the Projection Booth podcast these days?
Well, April is going to be a very eclectic month. We're doing some classics, a lot of stuff I've never actually seen before until recently. So things like Kissed, the necrophilia romance film, Grand Illusion, the genre noir war film, talking about the Red Shoes, the Powell and Pressburger movie. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff coming up. And then we are smack dab in the middle of 80s month. So we've got things like Joysticks and Beverly Hills Cop and Dr. Detroit. So definitely a mixed bag over there. And then, of course, we've got the Kolchak tapes, which you can check out at kolchaktapes.com. Coming up on our 3rd episode. I'm very excited for that, where we actually talk Kolchak, but more or less we talk about the Norless tapes, which is a Kolchak ripoff. So
I like that cough. Kolchak ripoff. It's a Kolchak ripoff. Cough. Oh man. What about you, Harrison? What are you up to these days?
In my spare time, basically all I'm doing is working on my webcomic. So if we're plugging for ourselves, anybody who likes luchadors or fantasy, I have a luchador fantasy webcomic. If anyone is interested, at luchaquest.com.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Culture Stash. If you like the Kulturecast and you like what we're saying, and if you want to listen to us talk more movies, not necessarily new movies, the new movie talk is kind of a new thing. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and sometimes we do it live on Mixlr, though we haven't in quite a while.
Fucking up, dude.
Yeah, I know. Wovoka.bandcamp.com is where you can go to listen to Eric's band Wovoka. They provide the intro-outro music for the Kulturecast. That song is Lament off of their first album, Sorrow, so you can go throw money at them over at wovoka.bandcamp.com. Patreon.com/Culture_Shocked is where you can go to throw money at us. We got a couple interesting backer reward levels if you want to listen to some unreleased podcasts, or if you want to be on a podcast, which sounds like an inherently bad idea, but hey, we're going to do it anyways. And
fuck.
You pay us enough money, you can be on a podcast. Quid pro quo, my friends. And then next week we're going to be talking about a sports movie, because that's what this month's theme was, and we just haven't gotten around to talking about sports movies yet. Balls Out, Gary the Tennis Coach. Never even heard of it, so a friend of mine suggested we watch it, so we'll see how that goes. Big thanks to Harrison and Mike for sitting down and talking about some big monkey movie action.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And make sure to check out next week's Kulturecast.